What happened in Brussels? D1 left thousands of army completely speechless. It began with nothing more than a quiet exchange between Kim Taehyung and Jungkook. Then, within seconds, everything changed. Taehyung appeared overwhelmed with emotion, and Jungkook immediately pulled him into a warm embrace that seemed to stop time. The crowd fell silent before erupting into emotional cheers, while Kente's fans were left wondering the same question. What did Jungkook say that created such a powerful moment? In this video, we'll break down every detail, every reaction, and the emotional sequence that has everyone talking. Stay until the end, because there's one subtle moment that most people completely missed. The atmosphere inside the Brussels Stadium had been electric from the very beginning. Every performance was met with deafening cheers. Every smile from the members drew another wave of excitement across the crowd. And every song seemed to bring thousands of voices together as one. It felt like another unforgettable concert filled with laughter, playful interactions, and the powerful energy that had always defined their performances. Yet, somewhere between the final songs and the closing moments of the night, something shifted. It wasn't announced. There were no dramatic lights or emotional speeches that immediately caught everyone's attention. Instead, it began with a single glance. Kim Taehyung looked across the stage toward Jungkook. For a brief second, neither of them spoke. The audience continued cheering, unaware that countless cameras had quietly captured a moment that would soon spread across social media. The silence between them seemed longer than it actually was. Jungkook slowly walked closer. There was no rushing, no exaggerated gestures, just calm, measured steps that somehow carried an unexpected emotional weight. Fans nearest the stage noticed Kim Taehyung watching him without looking away. His usual playful smile had faded into something softer, more thoughtful. His expression carried an emotion that was difficult to describe, as though he was quietly absorbing every second of the moment unfolding before him. When Jungkook finally stood in front of him, the stadium noise almost faded into the background. No one could clearly hear what they were saying. Some fans later claimed they exchanged only a few words. Others believed there had been no words at all from the audience's perspective. Only their expressions were visible. Jungkook appeared to speak softly, keeping his voice low enough that even nearby microphones couldn't clearly capture it. Kim Taehyung listened without interrupting, his eyes fixed entirely on him. That was when many fans noticed the first visible change. Kim Taehyung blinked several times, his lips pressed together. The smile he had been trying to maintain slowly disappeared. Something about Jungkook's quiet words seemed to reach him on a deeply personal level. Although exactly what was said remains unknown, the audience sensed the atmosphere changing almost instantly. The loud cheers gradually softened as more people realized they were witnessing something different from the playful interactions everyone had expected. Even fans recording with their phones lowered them slightly, afraid of missing whatever might happen next. Kim Taehyung looked down for a brief moment, then he looked back up. His eyes appeared noticeably more emotional than they had been only seconds earlier. Jungkook didn't step away. He remained exactly where he was, watching Kim Taehyung with an expression that fans immediately began discussing online. There was no sign of teasing or joking. Instead, there was a calm reassurance in the way he stayed beside him without saying much more. Sometimes, silence says far more than words ever could. And in that moment, silence filled the entire stadium. No one knew exactly what Kim Taehyung was feeling. No one knew exactly what Jungkook had said, but almost everyone could sense that something meaningful had just passed between them. What happened next would become the most unforgettable moment of Brussels D1, leaving thousands of fans struggling to hold back their own emotions. Jungkook never looked away. As the distance between them disappeared, he remained completely focused on Kim Taehyung, almost as if the thousands of fans surrounding the stage no longer existed. the stadium was still filled with applause and cheering. Yet, for those few seconds, the quiet interaction became the center of everyone's attention. Kim Taehyung seemed to be fighting to maintain the bright expression he had carried throughout the concert. Only moments earlier, he had been smiling at the audience, waving toward every section of the stadium, and encouraging ARMY to sing even louder. Nothing had suggested that the emotional atmosphere would suddenly change. Then came another brief exchange. Once again, no one could clearly hear what Jungkook said. The concert speakers continued playing soft background music, and the roar of the crowd drowned out every word. Fans reviewing down scenes of fan cams later discovered the same thing. The cameras captured their faces perfectly, but not the conversation itself. That mystery only fueled more discussion. Some believe Jungkook had simply thanked Kim Taehyung for everything they had experienced together during the tour. Others thought he might have offered quiet encouragement after noticing Kim Taehyung becoming emotional. The truth remained known only to the two of them. What everyone could see, however, was Kim Taehyung's reaction. His breathing appeared slower, and his shoulders relaxed. For a brief moment, he lowered his head almost as if he were trying to gather himself before looking back up again. The expression on his face was unlike the playful image fans had watched throughout the evening. It was softer, more vulnerable, and unmistakably sincere. Instead of stepping back to continue interacting with the audience, Jungkook stayed exactly where he was. He seemed to understand that this wasn't a moment to interrupt with jokes or playful teasing. Without any dramatic movement, he quietly closed the remaining distance between them. His arm naturally reached around Kim Taehyung's shoulders. There was nothing forced about it. It looked instinctive, confident kind of gesture that required no explanation. As soon as the embrace happened, a wave of cheers swept across the stadium. Thousands of light sticks began moving in unison. Some fans screamed in excitement, others simply watched in complete silence. Several audience members could already be seen wiping tears from their eyes while continuing to record the unforgettable scene unfolding before them. Kim Taehyung didn't immediately pull away. Instead, he leaned into the embrace for several long seconds. From where the audience stood, it looked as though he had found a brief moment of peace. Amid the overwhelming emotions of the night, Jungkook gently tightened the hug, resting his chin near Kim Taehyung's head without appearing concerned about the camera surrounding them. There was no performance in the gesture, no exaggerated expression, just quiet reassurance, the kind of comfort that often speaks louder than any speech delivered on stage. Fans closest to the barricade later described the atmosphere as surprisingly calm. Even though tens of thousands of people filled the stadium, many said it felt unusually quiet during those seconds. Almost everyone seemed afraid to interrupt what they were witnessing. Phones remained raised, cameras continued recording. Yet, the focus had shifted completely. It was no longer about the choreography, the music, or the spectacular stage production. It had become about a single embrace. Across social media, clips of the moment spread almost immediately. Millions of viewers replayed the same few seconds repeatedly, slowing the footage frame by frame, searching for tiny details that might explain why the interaction felt so different. Some pointed to Kim Taehyung's expression before the hug. Others focused on Jungkook's calm reaction. Many noticed how naturally he remained beside Kim Taehyung afterward, instead of quickly moving away to greet another section of the audience. Every small detail became part of the conversation. Still, one question continued to dominate every discussion. What happened immediately before the embrace? The cameras had captured almost everything except the one detail everyone wanted to know. And as more fan-recorded videos from different angles began appearing online, one particular clip surfaced that seemed to reveal an even more intriguing moment just seconds before the hug. A detail that many viewers had completely overlooked on their first watch. The newly surfaced angle immediately caught the attention of fans. Unlike the earlier clips that focused only on the embrace itself, this recording captured several extra seconds leading up to it. Although the quality was far from perfect, it offered a clear view of both Kim Taehyung and Jungkook standing face to face before the emotional moment unfolded. Within hours, the video was circulating across multiple fan communities. Everyone watched the same sequence repeatedly. At first, nothing appeared unusual. Kim Taehyung stood quietly, holding his microphone at his side while looking directly at Jungkook. His expression wasn't one of sadness, nor was it the bright smile fans had seen throughout most of the concert. Instead, it reflected someone carefully listening, completely focused on the person standing in front of him. Jungkook spoke only briefly. His lips moved for just a few seconds before he stopped. There were no visible microphones close enough to capture the conversation, leaving the actual words impossible to confirm. That uncertainty quickly became the biggest mystery of Brussels D1. Fans resisted drawing firm conclusions, recognizing that the audio simply wasn't available. Instead, many focused on what could actually be observed. Kim Taehyung's expression softened almost immediately afterward. He blinked several times, took a slow breath, and looked down for only a moment before meeting Jungkook's eyes again. It wasn't a dramatic reaction. It was incredibly subtle. Perhaps that was exactly why so many people found it so moving. There was no performance in those few seconds, no exaggerated gesture meant for the cameras. It felt private, despite unfolding in front of thousands of people. Another detail soon became impossible to ignore. As Kim Taehyung stood silently, Jungkook didn't appear impatient or uncertain. He simply waited. He didn't rush the conversation. He didn't look toward the audience. He didn't try to shift attention elsewhere. His entire focus remained on Kim Taehyung. That quiet patience resonated deeply with fans. Many commented that genuine support often looks exactly like that, not trying to fix someone's emotions immediately, but simply staying beside them until they're ready. Moments later, Kim Taehyung finally looked up again. For a brief second, the two exchanged another glance, filled with quiet understanding. Then, Jungkook made the first move. He stepped forward naturally, closing the remaining space between them before wrapping his arms around Kim Taehyung. This time, viewers noticed something they had previously overlooked. Kim Taehyung didn't hesitate. Almost instantly, he returned the embrace. His arms tightened around Jungkook, as though accepting the comfort without needing another word. The audience erupted once more. Some fans screamed, while others simply covered their mouths, overwhelmed by what they were witnessing. Across different fan camps, another pattern became noticeable. Several staff members standing near the stage continued watching the interaction without interrupting it. No one hurried them. No one signaled for them to move along. The concert simply paused around that quiet exchange for a few precious seconds. It was enough time for thousands of people to create memories they would likely never forget. As the embrace came to an end, Jungkook didn't immediately walk away. Instead, he remained beside Kim Taehyung, his posture relaxed as though making sure everything was alright. Before they continued greeting the audience, Kim Taehyung gradually smiled again. It wasn't the energetic grin from earlier in the concert. It was smaller, gentler, but it carried a warmth that quickly spread through the stadium. Fans responded with even louder cheers, hoping to lift the atmosphere together. Soon afterward, both of them resumed waving toward different sections of the crowd, continuing the concert as if nothing unusual had happened. Yet, for everyone watching, something had changed. The performances remained spectacular. The music continued. The celebration returned. But the emotional exchange between them had already become the defining memory of Brussels D1. Still, another surprise awaited fans after the concert ended. As people began leaving the stadium and reviewing the night's footage, one close-up recording surfaced from an entirely different angle. Unlike every previous clip, This one appeared to capture a tiny facial expression from Jungkook immediately after the hug, indeed a fleeting reaction so subtle that almost no one had noticed it during the live performance. But once discovered, it sparked an entirely new wave of discussion among ARMY.